joined now by Democratic Congresswoman Madeleine Dean of Pennsylvania, who is a member of the House Judiciary Committee. Congresswoman, thank you very much for joining us. Have you been given assurances that the Intel Committee, their report, will be released to the public before House Judiciary holds its hearing?
I don't know the timing of the report. That is exactly what we're waiting on, the report from the Intelligence Committee. You saw the process was laid out by House Resolution 660, reaffirmed and repeated today by Jerry Nadler in a letter to the president. So I don't know the exact timing. We look forward to getting that whole report. Remember, we had 2 important weeks of open testimony, public testimony by patriots, courageous people who came forward and told us of the irregular nature of the back channel dealings that the president and Giuliani and Mr. Sondland and others were involved in to try to bribe the Ukrainian president into coming up with a false investigation of a political opponent. But what we don't yet have is the other days and hours of testimony behind closed doors. So I really look forward to getting that full report and reviewing it before we prejudge any articles of impeachment or any votes.
What is the strategy for House Democrats in the Judiciary, on the Judiciary Committee, to start with academics, to start with what will essentially, it sounds like, be a civics lesson?
Like you, I like civics lessons. And remember, we're on a journey, a grave journey of an impeachment inquiry and possibly a vote on impeaching a president of the United States, which could result in his removal. It's an extraordinary remedy that our founders came forward with because they worried about someone who might try to be too powerful, might be involved in self-dealing, corruption, or in inviting foreign countries into interfering with our elections. And so we haven't come across this in a generation, thankfully. You don't want to be doing this every year. So it's a very serious, very solemn occasion. And it's important that we educate ourselves, those of us who need to be crafting, drafting, amending, voting on articles, possible articles of impeachment. But the American public has a right to know. Think of the very young, I think of the young people in my office. They were not around during the time of the Clinton impeachment, nor the time of Nixon. So it's very important that we all understand academically and constitutionally what's at stake.
Let me ask you this. Democrats had said that they needed a decision on McGahn urgently. The decision on McGahn came down yesterday. The White House is appealing it. Is it a good idea to go forward while the White House is in that appeal, or should they wait for a decision in order to hear from McGahn before proceeding by writing a report and giving it to your committee?
Well, I thought the decision yesterday was abundantly clear, eloquently written, that 250 years of American history tells us, schools us, that presidents are not kings. And this judge could not imagine a more serious set of obstructive circumstances. I'm paraphrasing in that line. But what I do know is what we've been doing all along. We recognize that we have a constitutional duty of oversight, that in the face of the obstruction by this administration, it's historic obstruction. The framers, I don't think, even anticipated that those who worked for the administration would carry out the obstructive nature of not coming forward following a lawful subpoena.
So you don't need it, is what you're saying.
And so we had no choice but to go to court. I think we have tremendous evidence already. We will continue, I hope, we will continue along that course, recognizing the important decision that it was, because it's not just McGahn who failed to come before us, but many others in an unprecedented claim of blanket immunity. There is no such thing. The court cleared that. But we need to continue on the path that we are on because there's important evidence that has been brought forward by the investigation, by the Intelligence Committee.
One other question for you.
We're on a dual track.
Before we run out of time, are you going to be narrowly focused on just this Ukraine event, or will you be broadening out the focus into other potentially obstructed behavior or abusive power behavior that you believe the president may or may not have done over the course of his first term?
Personally, I believe I have to be as thoughtful as possible. That's why I want to see the report. I want to read and digest the report and see where it leads us, because what we have to combine is the evidence. It may be one article, it could be 3 articles, it could be 4, but the evidence and then the judiciary matches that to the law, and then I overlay that with my oath of office. I swore on January the 3rd that I would uphold the Constitution of the United States. So I want to see all of the evidence, not prejudge articles of impeachment, marry it to the Constitution as well as my own oath.
Congresswoman Madeleine Dean, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Meet the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.